I hope you can hear me this time. I last time I was having a fit. The microphone wasn't plugged in. It's plugged in. I hope it's working. I've been trying to just look. Friday, I was freaking out. I tried to calm myself down. I calmed myself down by talking to the screen, but nothing changes. My situation doesn't change. This has been going on for years. Okay, when something happens to me, I either can't or don't know how to fix it. And any kind of outside help, I just realized I can put my tea bag in. Any kind of outside help isn't available to me. There's outside help for plenty of people, but there isn't outside help for me. And I think that's what's wrong with this country and why there's always a divide. Because there's poor people who have jobs. And I say poor people. They don't consider themselves poor people. They still think they're working class. But there's people who, they work and, they're just making it. And they see the taxes that come out of them. And they see the people who don't work and who get help. And it makes them angry. And I understand that. And that's why I always said that if I was running things, help wouldn't be need based. Everybody would get the same help. Everything would be available to everybody. Everything that's free would be free for everybody. School would be free for everybody. You know, and you say, how do you pay for it? They have the money. You see the government has money. You just saw after 9/11, it was like 3 days of the airlines not being in the air and our economy almost collapsed. Right? But we went a whole year almost with everything being shut. And our economy did not collapse because they were able to print money, which they can always do. Or they can play games and do all this other shit. It will come to roost at some point, the way they do things, the way they've done it. And that's what we're dealing with now, the inflation. But that's really from people not being able to go to work and people not being able to, from stores not making money off of people going to work, people buying coffee and donuts on the way to work, people having money to buy, new sneakers that they don't need, and that's not reported on this. That's why those of us who understood how things work and who understood that gas prices end up affecting everything else, and then who understood that in order for your economy to be running, poor people need to have money to spend. And that's something that rich people have never understood. That's something that I don't know why they don't understand it. Because in the days after 9/11, when they started telling everybody, when they were like advising people, like they were talking to a single person to either sell stocks or whatever, they were ruining the economy for no reason. You know what I mean? Because there's the two economies, there's the stock market, there's the regular economy. And I don't know why I'm going on this tangent, but the point is, a lot of us had foreseen, regular people had foreseen that the stuff they were doing with the lockdowns from the beginning was going to screw up the regular economy. People who have businesses and all this stuff. That's why they threw all this money into these businesses. Like I said, I don't know if they have to pay that back. I don't know what's going to happen. But these businesses are still suffering. They can't get their supplies because of now the supply chain. And why is that happening? You have all these things that you can't throw a wrench in a machine and then shut it off because it doesn't work because of COVID, because you decided to shut it off. And then when you turn it back on, expect it to still be running. You broke the machine. And now it's not working. And it's not working for anybody. And this is my problem. You see my problem in life? I came on here to talk about me and my problems to nobody in particular because I know nobody gives a crap. I just came here to say how I was still feeling bad. I'm still shaky on the inside. I don't know what the hell to do. I haven't known what to do for 20 years. It's just ridiculous. I've tried things. I've come up with things that don't work. That's why, again, after my mom died, after the lockdowns, when every single thing I was trying was being like, you can't, you have to wait because of this rule. You have to wait because of the lockdowns. You have to wait because of this. But meanwhile, again, the bills were accumulating. I had to keep waiting. And that waiting put me in a situation that made me come to a complete stop. And everything I tried to come up with, the answer was no. You can't because of this law. You can't because there's a lockdown. You can't because those people aren't in the office because they're still hiding from lockdown. So everything you're trying to do, everything you're trying to figure out for yourself, whatever help you're trying to get or whatever you're trying to do on your own, everything I have tried to do, and I have to underline this 3 times, with 4 exclamation points. Everything I try to do for me doesn't work. I don't know why. Anything, other people, they're smarter than me, they're stronger than me, they're better people. Whatever the answer you want to say, go ahead and say it, because I don't even know what it is. If I knew what it was, if I knew why every time I try I fail, and then I just have to wait and see what happens anyway. And it's not big failures, it's just trying to get things done doesn't work for me. Now, I just told this situation I'm in right now that I'm panicking about, because I got a shut off, well, not a shut off notice, a past due notice, which I think counts as a shut off notice, because I don't think they send them. Because if they shut you off and put you back on, they get $100. So isn't it easier to word the thing so it counts as a shut off notice when it's just a past due notice, so you think you're all right, and then you don't pay it, and then they shut it off, and then you got to pay $100 more that you don't have to put it back on, because they do that stuff to go after people they think have the money and just aren't paying. And that's what I think's happening now. I think you have government agencies, you have a lot of people. Once things open back up again, they decided, okay, we're going to get everybody now. They had all this time and stuff like that. And whatever, everybody's situation is different. And I've said before, people are special snowflakes. And this is what I mean. Everybody's life is different. When they locked us down as if there was only 3 kinds of people. People who had good jobs and could work from home and it wouldn't affect them at all. People who had jobs and it would affect them because they wouldn't be able to go in and do their job and help those people with unemployment. And then other people who were the worst of the worst, that they put up in hotels but then threw them back out. I mean, not the worst of the worst people, but the way they see it. But, you know, in the worst of the worst situation where they were already homeless, and just, you know, help them so they don't spread the disease for a minute. But then when we want to open back up because we realize we need to make money, because our economy actually needs people to spend and make money, we're going to open it up when we're not ready. But we're going to act like the vaccine is going to solve the whole problem of the economy. And we're going to do that. And then nobody was ready anymore. You put the American people into a stupor for over a year with your lockdowns, wanting to do things, trying to do things, being stuck, you know. And you look at yourselves, or you look at the people who were able, the people who were able to continue working remotely, and their financial situation did not change because of the lockdowns. Those are the people you look at, and I'm not saying there aren't a lot of those people. But those are the people you look at as proof of everything can keep going. And you want those people to buy all the Christmas presents. And you want those people to spend all the money to keep the economy going. And you're going to keep looking at them, and you're going to wait for your Black Friday, the statistics and all this stuff. And who knows what's going to happen? I don't know what's going to happen. But I know every time I think I have a little bit of time to wait, either I think I made the same stupid mistake again, which is why I'm saying I have a cognitive issue, which is why I've been trying since the summer to get help, because I'm not crazy. I wasn't crazy before. Everybody has some amount of being depressed and anxiety, not to the degree that, you know, people want to think. But when your situation is bad and things keep going wrong, and you keep thinking that you got it figured out, or you have a little bit more time, and then you find out you're wrong. And everything that's doing this to me, honestly, people, I have to tell you, everything that's doing this to me is government. Okay? Everything that's happened that has stopped me, that has messed me up, all this crap I've been going through for the last 3 months, with trying to get help, even from my mental problems, whatever they are. If it's that I do have a cognitive issue, or it's just that I went through a lot of traumatic events in a row. I was isolated in this house because of the lockdowns, and it's made me forgetful, or make the same stupid mistake and not learn. Whatever it is, I've been asking for help with that, because I knew that I was mentally stuck and I had to do something. And that's why at the beginning of September, I walked into the emergency room, because I was at my wit's end. I'm like, I can't do this one more day. That was in September, and I asked for help. They didn't do anything for me. They were supposed to. They're supposed to hook me up with some kind of a person who's going to help me. That's not happening because everything's so behind. They didn't do it. I started going to this therapist 3 days later. She was supposed to do it too. Last time I spoke to her, she said she called them and it's like, oh yeah, I'm still on the list. It's just taking a long time because of the way everything is. It's going to be December. I started begging for help with my brain in September. And I've been going through this alone. I've gone through my whole life alone. I never had that kind of backup where somebody supported me and made me feel better. That's what I was ranting about before. Because I look back in my life and I try to understand. It's like I had up until 25 years old to figure it out. And then after 25, somebody pulled the plug on me. I was like, you don't have any more opportunities. You don't have any more opportunities for work. You don't have any more opportunities for friends. You don't have any more opportunities for anything. You had up until 25. You weren't a success. You didn't figure it out. And we're pulling the plug. There's no more paths for you. You're going to try to make paths. You're going to try to make opportunities. And it's going to be a dead end every time. And the whole world will look at you and see you as a bum. The whole world will be like, get a job, which is exactly what you were trying to do the whole time. And now you're in this state where you're just this deteriorated, dilapidated, old, weak person. And you're asking for help. And you admit to everything that's wrong. And you're just there, like, you know what I mean? I keep picturing Forrest Gump's leaf in the wind. But for Forrest, it all went right. I'm not a leaf, though. I'm a leaf with hands that tries to grab onto things, and I just can't go with it. When I try to go with it, I end up like this, with a situation where all of a sudden there's a bill that scares the shit out of me, and I don't understand. I literally don't understand. I just paid a huge amount for them to not shut it off on October 29th. And that was supposed to be, everything was current. There was a bill due 2 weeks from then, and that's the one I haven't paid, and that's the one they're saying, and I don't understand. I don't understand. I can't, if I could do these things like this, we wouldn't be having this problem. I wouldn't be talking about this stuff. They spent a year pretending to understand people had issues without really truly helping people in a profound way. And now everything's supposed to be, just look at this baby, let's look at the Baby Yoda balloon in the Thanksgiving Day parade that seems to have a mustache for some reason. I don't understand why it has a little mustache. All it is Black Friday, Black Friday. And I said this years ago, honestly, before any of this happened. And I saw the economy deteriorate. And I saw the gap between the rich and the poor getting worse and worse and worse. And I knew there was no middle class anymore. Even though people, a sense of pride causes people to put themselves there. Let's call the people who think they're middle class high poor, okay? If the people in your house combined don't make $200,000 a year, because that's how much it takes to have normal things, to have the nice houses you have and a mortgage and everything else, be able to pay all those bills, pay all your credit cards and stuff, have everything perfect. If you don't have that, then you're high poor, okay? If you got good jobs and you got a good life and you barbecue and you go on vacation every year and you have all that stuff, and you're just making it still. I mean, you may put a little bit away, you may have a 401k and stuff like that, but if you don't have a ton of money in the bank where you could retire anytime you want, and you are secure if something should happen to your job, if your job should disappear, or if you should get a serious illness that takes you out of working, not that you wouldn't get money for that, for still being on salary or whatever, or we call it disability money or something like that. If you're not wealthy, you're poor. If you can't call yourself wealthy, you're poor. There's no thing in the middle. And I've known that since before this pandemic happened, which caused the lockdowns, which just broke so many of us, and we are broken. And that's the part I'm trying to say. What's making me the most sick about the TV, I put it on Omicron, or whatever the hell, how they want to say it. I'm sick of this bullshit. Okay, there's a new variant, and there was the Delta variant, and they're going to have these variants. I'm tired of them It looks like a playbook. It looks like a media playbook to, again, start this, just like me going through the same mistake, or me making the same mistake, and this, agency doing the same thing to me that they did last month, but now it doesn't even make sense. It seems like they just keep, it's a rerun, right? This Omicron is the new Delta virus. And I'm not talking in terms of the virus. I'm not talking in terms of vaccines. I'm talking in terms of the narrative and how they talk about it in a way to, it's like to inject more energy into the fear of this illness. Okay? It's a way to get people riled up again. Okay? Get people scared again. And what they don't understand is so many of us are still scared because I shouldn't even say so many of us. I'm speaking for myself, and I don't know about other people out there. I know that a lot of people are acting like things are okay. I don't think it is. I don't know. I don't talk to enough people from being locked down, from not having money to go around. I don't know. But here's the thing about the place I live in and why it's not accurate representation. Because the people I came, even though I didn't collect any kind of disability money or any kind, there's no general relief and stuff like that. I don't know why people think that. People sometimes advise you like, oh, there's all this help in the world, because they're thinking back to the 80s, or they're thinking back to when they had to get help decades ago, and it's like they don't know how much Clinton and Bush changed in terms of people being able to just go and get help. That's why people hate people on welfare. There are no people on welfare. There's only people who get help if they have children, people who get help if they are really disabled. Okay? All that other stuff that you think, or you picturing that all these able-bodied people don't want to work and they're getting all kinds of help, they're not. They're not. That's why there's crime and panhandling and all the stuff that there is that you don't like, because those safety nets that you hated so much did go away. Okay? They went away because you didn't want to support it. And I understand that people, like I said, I understand people thinking they're taking the tax money out of me and they're giving it to that person. I worked hard. Those people don't do anything. That's not actually what happens. They take your tax money because they want to take your tax money. Okay? They have the money to give to everybody. And this is what I'm saying. This is why they, when they do things, if they gave it out fairly, if everybody got help, if there was the same safety nets for everybody, meaning a person who is in what used to be the middle class would get the same benefits, right? Just like we all travel on the same streets. If everybody got the same benefits, then it would be fair, and everybody would have something with which to manage their life. Or if you want them to, say, pull themselves up by their bootstraps, you have to pull yourself up by your bootstraps with something. If you don't have anything to pull yourself up by your bootstraps with, then you need help. If you're an idiot like me and you don't know what to do and your brain isn't functioning correctly anymore, and you go for help because you're like, I can't do this, there's something wrong with me, I need help figuring this out, and that's the help I've needed for a long time. That was the help I needed when I couldn't find a job. I needed help figuring things out. Like I said, it's only been this past year, after since last September, that I borrowed money from anybody, which is what I never wanted to do. And it has screwed me up. It has screwed me up and has made me feel bad. And all that stuff put on top of not being able to figure everything out, constantly having the date moved from when I could do anything, and just not knowing what was happening. It was that between September and December last year where my brain just went and said, I can't do this anymore. And I stopped being able to figure out anything and plan. And I sit here and I watch the rest of the world, and there are people who freak out every time there's a new variant, and they get so scared. And you see them, they're on Twitter, whatever. There's these people who, you remember when the vaccines were new, and there were people who weren't in the right bracket yet, like they weren't old enough to get to be first in line, and they were trying to get the vaccine in the black market because they were so scared. I mean, there are those people who every time they invoke a new name, the media invokes a new name for a new variant, they're gonna flip out and they're gonna be scared, and they're gonna scare everybody else, because we're all messed up now. They've the way they've talked about this stuff, the way they've done these things, the way they've done this leaves you a freaking mental mess. If you're susceptible at all, if you're not, good for you. I'm really happy for you, and you're strong, and you got your shit together, and I'm proud of you, and Jesus loves you, and your parents love you, and everybody, all your ancestors think you're great, and good for you. Great. I'm happy for you. There are the rest of us who were already on the edge before any pandemic happened. Okay? For whatever reason, we were already in financial bad shape. Okay? And everything they did just not only ruined our ability to figure anything out or come up with something. I mean, it's destroyed me. I am not the person I was the day before lockdown. I'm not kidding. I'm not that person anymore. I don't even know who I am. I'm a total freaking mess. I hung on for a long time, and I only started to realize that I was starting to get effed up in the summer. That's when I started realizing I'm not mentally, and I believe it has to do with forgetting. Some of it has to do with forgetting, because when I'm making the same stupid mistakes, or I'm doing things that I would never have done, the training us to just wing it, training us to just wait. Like I said, the people who were strong, it didn't affect them. I guess I'm weak. I guess I thought I was strong. But training us to wait, training us to not know, training us to look at bills and just be like, well, there's nothing I can do about it. Training us to, and like I said, it put us in a certain mindset. And then when they decided it was time, that they wanted everything to go back to normal, they wanted everything to open up again, they wanted people to start paying bills again, it was like we were all supposed to snap to it somehow, and everything was going to go back to normal the way they had it. And as I'm saying, they made irreversible damage on our world and the people, and it was because of the lockdowns. Yes, there's a virus, but the virus caused people to be sick and die, unfortunately. But it's the lockdowns that have crippled this country. And I'm sitting here, and I finally remembered why I wanted to do a stream in the first place. I'm sitting here, they're talking about this, how are you supposed to say it? I want to say Acromicron. That's too many syllables. Omicron, right? It's reminded me of when I first heard of Delta, which was, I think, around this time last year. It was like winter time, right? Wasn't it? Maybe it was the very beginning of this year. You know what I mean, like January, not December, or whatever. But the thing is, years ago, when I had problems with the United States, I would say to myself, well, maybe one day I'll be rich and famous, or maybe one day I'll have a bunch of money and I can just, move to England. You know how celebrities, if that person wins, I'm moving to France, whatever. The point is, I didn't like the way the media was, and I know I went to England once for a week, and I remember putting the TV on, and their news was on, and I was like, their news is so calm. They're just like matter-of-factly saying what's happening. They're not trying to scare me. It was you just notice the difference. While I'm sitting there think about it, you're just like, the news is just telling me what's happening and how it is. And I was like, this is much easier life to live, just not having, fear come through the screen all the time. And I believe what's happening to me now with the bills and stuff, this is also fear. I think there's now an effort to, I think a lot of this has been an effort. The United States of America became the survival of the fittest. That's what they want us to be. And I remember when I was a kid in high school, I was in my senior year, I took a computer course in Pascal. Don't even ask me why. I don't even think that language was still working, but I took a computer class in high school, and there was a girl in my class, and she was like the lone Republican, because nobody here was a Republican, but there was always one, just like Alex P. Keaton, right? There's always one. So she used to get into arguments with our computer teacher, who was a hippie. He carried around his ticket stub from Woodstock. Okay? And she would say survival of the fittest, survival of the fittest. And then she got pregnant and had to quit high school. And everybody was like, well, survival of the fittest. But the point was, that was supposed to be a conservative sort of, when I was growing up, supposed to be conservative, evil kind of attitude where, you know, you want survival of the fittest is like, you know, let your neighbor die, let everybody else fall. If they can't survive, too fucking bad. And it was supposed to be a bad way to be. And it was supposed to be, like I said, me growing up, I was making to think that that's the worst kind of Republican would think that, you know. Not nice people who go to church and they help out at church and stuff like that, and they, you know, they help their community. Because those plenty of, you know, the born again Christian type of Republicans who do help people. They just don't think government should do it. Okay? But this girl, this survival of the fittest is like, no, you're on your own. And I thought that was not many people thought that way. Put it that way. She was a special brand of weirdo, because most people don't think that. You can't think that if you have any kind of religious philosophy, because no religions tell you to think that way. Okay? Not a one. So I think gradually over time that was happening. I think in that way the terrorists won, because once the economy starts going, people start fending for themselves and people start doing dog eat dog. And it was getting that way. We had the financial crisis of, 2008 that was brought about by banks' greed, and the banks were bailed out by government, and they were allowed to continue to, they had no rules, so they were allowed to continue to ruin lives. And I don't think we ever recovered from that. So how we were at the beginning, on January 1st, 2020, a lot of us have been, we're really just hanging on by a thread because of everything that happened since that financial. There's so many people who didn't deserve to have what happened to them in 2008, and it affected everything else. And again, the media, I don't think would ever. They'll talk about it vaguely. They'll say it in passing here or there, but to acknowledge that the United States was in a situation, they didn't. And like I said, every time there's a forest fire, wildfires, could Nicole Kidman and Javier Bardem look any less like Lucille Ball? Oh my God. You know what? Great actors. I just saw that. I'm watching Sunday Today with Willie Geist. That's what inspired me, because they're talking about this Omicron. And the thing I'm trying to get to, and I keep getting distracted from, is that my own situation is very immediate. I'm in an immediate problem that I've had to sit with all weekend and try to distract myself, because I feel I'm so scared and so nervous, and I can't find out what. I could not call. I could not pick up the phone and go, what is going on? What's happening? Because as far as I'm concerned, it shouldn't be. This should be a mistake. If somehow they're going to tell me that this bill is past due by over a month, because like I said, they put on a fee, and it was like $5, because that's the only thing I can come up with, that some fee they put on that didn't appear on the original bill, that appeared on the new bill that I only got on Wednesday, is going to be $5 that is somehow overdue by more than a month. And that $5 is going to give them you're past due by this many days, so we can shut you off. That's the only thing I could come up with, and I don't understand anything else. I had a payment plan for something else. I went and I paid that like I was supposed to. As far as I know, I did everything I was supposed to. And I should have had a little bit more time before they started threatening to shut anything off again. And I've been sitting here all weekend going, what the hell? I can't do anything about it because it's the weekend. I couldn't do anything on Friday because even though it wasn't Thanksgiving and it wasn't a Saturday, they weren't there. And I don't know that the city was always like this. I always get confused between the strange holidays where it's not an actual holiday, but people take it off. Sometimes around Memorial Day, sometimes around Thanksgiving, sometimes around what do you call it? Like we have Patriots Day, other places don't have Patriots Day. So there's a few holidays here and there where every year I would remember if I was young. I don't remember anymore which one is closed on which day. That's not really a federal holiday. Okay, so Friday nobody was there for. That's when I got this bill. Nobody was there. So I've been freaking out all weekend. I've been trying not to freak out. Okay. I don't know what to do. That when this shit happens, I get paralyzed. And when I go through one of these crises, I just, if it passes, if it gets resolved, my brain gets so scrambled that it takes me time. It takes me time to be able to think straight again. And this is the worst part. I wasn't done. I was just starting to think straight again from last time, which was a month ago. And this is what I'm saying. This is what I went. I went to the therapist. I went to these people and I said, there's something wrong with my mind because I can't plan. I need help planning. There's something wrong with my mind. I was able to plan a year ago. Well, more than a year ago now. But too many things happened. My brain exploded and I could not think of plans anymore. Whether they would have worked or not is besides the point. I just couldn't even think of anything anymore. And it felt like some part of my system was no longer working. Some part of my system that was working in August of 2020 stopped working in September of 2020. Like something happened because I was so shocked when I found out that I had to wait longer. I'm watching this TV, they're talking about Omicron, they're talking about all this stuff, and just even thinking about the stuff I thought of before. I'm saying to myself, years ago I used to say, well, if I was really rich I could move to England, or if I was really, you know what I mean, I could move, if I didn't like where I was I could go somewhere else. That's the thing about this stuff with these variants and the narrative and the stuff coming through the TV. There's nowhere to run. Okay? You can't say, okay, well, I don't want to get a vaccine. I'm going to leave the country. If you were rich. You know what I mean? I'm saying if you were rich and had the money to do it. You can't say, even if, forget travel restrictions. I'm not even talking about that. I'm saying the fear-based information with these variants is happening all over the world. All over the world, the same message is going out. Time to be scared again. There's a new thing. Time to freak out again. You're not safe. You thought you were safe. You got vaccinated. You did all the things you were supposed to do. You didn't have Thanksgiving last year. You're trying to have it this year. But guess what? There's a new variant for you to be afraid of. That message that's coming through my TV is coming through everybody's TV. All over the world, if they have a TV. Everybody's getting the same message. It's a new thing to be scared. The new thing is the same old thing. What you're going through is what you just went through. You haven't recovered yet from that trauma. Go through it again. So this is why, even though I'm in a particular situation, I'm like, yeah, as much as my situation is stupid, and as much of it can be my fault, and as much, we're all going through this thing where we're constantly being made afraid, and there's nowhere to go to get away from it. If you want to get away from the fear-mongering, if you want to get away, you can shut off the TV. You can do stuff like that. You can never talk to anybody else. But then you won't know what's going on in the world. And I have a severe problem with not knowing what's going on in the world because I already feel like I'm always getting slammed because I'm missing a piece of information. I'm missing a vital piece of information about my life, and days went by, and I have a deadline, and I've lost days because it's a weekend, because it's nobody was there on Friday because it was a fake holiday. And I've been able to just, my brain's been able to just short circuit whenever it feels like it all weekend, because I don't have an answer. Is it my fault? Is there a mistake? Did I make the same mistake again? Did I do something wrong? Did I not understand something? Or are they just coming after people now? Are they just threatening people to try to get the people who are sitting there on a stack of cash who just don't feel like paying their bills? Just like this bullshit that there's all these job openings and there's all these people who just don't want to do those jobs. That's been the lie for longer than this. That's why the unemployment numbers have been a lie for a million years. That's why the people who want there to be undocumented workers say, well, we need them because Americans don't want this job. They never actually went there and said, will you hire Americans at this job? Because the answer is no. A lot of the time, a lot of those things, the answer was no. So then there's not Americans in that job. And the people who want to tell themselves nice things say, oh, Americans must not want that job. Why? Because they don't want that job. They don't want to work in a factory. They don't want to work on a farm. They don't want to work in a fish house because they went to school and they decided to become a lawyer, or they became a news reporter, or they became some other thing where they would never, oh my God, I would never, you know what I mean? I would never do that job. So they assume all the other Americans are like that too. And then when they hear that we need undocumented workers here to do these jobs because Americans won't, they buy it hook, line, and sinker because they're like, of course not. I don't want that job. So they've been being programmed with that nonsense for years. And now you have another situation where they're doing it again, and they're blaming people not wanting to work because they have all this, I don't know, stimulus money or leftover unemployment money or something. I don't know what their reasoning is for thinking that people don't want to be in these jobs. But I'll tell you, if there is a real reason and people were able to save money or get money somehow, and they are living off of something other than wages, what the lockdown showed us was how certain people were expendable. And those people were the people who worked in the grocery stores. And it was like, no, you need to go to work because people need to eat food. And those people were on the front lines, and those people were like those are people like soldiers in terms of giving their lives for their country. And that's what they did. And they should have been compensated, and their families should be compensated because they were on the front lines. And now you have doctors and nurses, and, you know, they're quitting their jobs. And a lot of people are quitting not just because maybe they don't want to get vaccinated or whatever. They're quitting because they've been so disrespected and they weren't compensated. They should get some kind of hero pay. You know what I mean? All this money that we hear about in these bills, it should be going to American people for one reason or another. It should, the doctors and the nurses and all the people who busted their ass during during the pandemic and the lockdowns in those days where there was too many, they should have been given some kind of big, huge bonus, and they should have gotten raises, and they should not be being treated like shit. You know, and they're being fired if they don't want to get a vaccine. You've seen nurses who got fired because they don't want to get a vaccine. And then we're not going to have enough people in the hospital if there is a new variant. Everything that our government has done has made things worse for so many people. People like me who are on the bottom, who nobody has to respect if they don't feel like it. I understand. People who last year were heroes for going and stocking the shelves in the grocery store, or, you know what I mean? Those people, they knew that nobody cared about them. They knew that their lives didn't matter. So if they were able to collect unemployment eventually, or if something happened, why should they risk their life for that job that nobody respects them? Why should they risk their life for a cheap wage? You know what I mean? Why should they do that? You know? See, this is how the media does it. Now they've got the story about Jamal and his auntie lady that, you know, I forgot her name. Wanda. Okay. Wait, who's Wanda? Wanda's the girlfriend or Wanda's the old lady? Anyway, they had Thanksgiving together again. But the husband died, right? This is the media, this is what they do. And they usually do it by way of hodakotbi. There's all these horrible stories, and then they come with the happy story at the end, or at the end of the bad stories. They're supposed to wipe away everything you just heard. All the bad stuff you just heard went away. Here's this nice story. And that is a tactic to get people to forget about their fellow man, forget about how bad things are, and just constantly, fake it till you make it, act like everything's all right and everything's great. And it's not. And it's not. And this world where there's no escape, like I said, you can't, even if you had money, you can't jump on a plane, be like, I'm moving to France now, and it's worse in France in some ways. I mean, in Austria, they've already started, they've locked down the people who aren't vaccinated. They're making it two different societies. This is everything those of us who didn't want to go down this road said in the beginning. And oh no, they won't do that. Oh no, they won't make you show ID. Oh no, this won't happen. With vaccine pass, they all said no, that's not going to happen. It's happened. And the people who have gone along with everything for their own reasons, and that's fine. But there are a lot of people who've gone along with everything, gone along with getting vaccinated and doing everything. They really hope that people like me die. They really hope that they just want you to be gone because they really believe that we are somehow harming them. And it's like, I know. That's why I keep saying, I know there's no place for me in this world. I know that I don't belong here. So I don't know why I keep breathing. I mean, like I said, my heart feels like a flat tire a lot of days. I wake up, it feels lousy. I'm like, if it's shitty, if it's not working right, why doesn't it stop? I'm just having that issue because I really believe that I'm just here to suffer more. I'm just here to have things get way, way worse before I die, so that can be my life. I can't die now while it's still not the worst it can possibly be. I have to go through the absolute worst shit before I die. Some part of me really believes that because it's like I've hung on. I've literally been hanging on. The situation continues to get worse, but I've literally been hanging on for 2 decades. Not knowing what I could do to help myself. Doing things that don't amount to hill of beans. Somebody else tries to sell things online and it's a hit, it's a success, they do a great job, or they start off and they fail a couple times and they finally figure it out and it works out for them and they make a business and then they're able to be an entrepreneur and make their own money and be their own boss. Not that they're loaded, but they're just able to have. I tried things too in the beginning of the internet, not the beginning of the internet, in the beginning of blogs, in the beginning of Etsy, in the beginning of all these things. I tried with nothing though. When you don't have money to start, this is what I'm trying to say. When you don't have money, if you have a job, if you have a part-time job even, and because you're getting a salary, you have that money coming with your name on it, and you're able to take that little amount of money and turn it into something else. It's one thing. When you have nothing, when you have next to nothing, let's say, okay, and you can only do the smallest amount, you really need something to work. You really need something to connect. And that didn't happen for me because I'm stupid, because I don't know what I'm doing, because I'm unlucky, because it just didn't work, whatever. But it didn't. So now here's a story about some dog selling the house Madonna used to live in. See, this is what I mean. These people in the media, because their lives didn't change, because they talk to the same people in their office all the time. They get up, they come to the office, they talk to the same people who are all doing fine, who've been doing fine. They went back to normal. They report on stupid stories. They are so psyched for the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree. They have mentally gone back because they never mentally went that far away. Yeah, they weren't able to see family. They weren't able to go to their favorite restaurants. So those kind of, I almost want to say electives. In school there were requirements and then there were electives. All the elective things that they couldn't do put a cramp in their style and it made them sad. They couldn't go to the movies or whatever. But once those things came back, they were able to do it again. Because they had, like I said, they had money, they had a stack of cash, they're in the right place. Them and all their friends, and I'm saying that, but I'm 100% certain that these people, they're talking into a camera And either the person who is running the camera or the person who cleans the dusts off that camera that they're talking into is probably suffering somehow, because they're not at that level. But they're not going to go into work and complain. They have a job to do. They're going to go to work, do their job, go home, and worry and try to figure things out. Unless it's just me. Like I said, there's a real effort to make me think it's just me. I go to the therapist. She tells me nobody's working. Who is she talking about? Because she, you know, I don't see the proof of that. I don't hear the proof of that. The internet should have been a way for people to get information that they don't normally get. And for a while, I was hearing about people having a hard time. But when we got a new president, the one the media likes, the vaccines came and stuff, they ceased to talk about the actual problems. And every once in a while they talk, like they'll talk about, what's that lady? It's not Stephanie Gosk is the other lady. The lady who comes on and does the financial stuff on the Today Show. She comes on and I remember a couple weeks ago, she was sitting there telling people why the economy's fine, don't worry about it, even though you don't have, I don't know exactly how she said it, but it was something like, well, even though you don't have money, these numbers are okay, so we're doing fine. You know what I mean? It was like, well, yeah, everything's fine. So it was like, you know, it was really, or a lot of people still have their unemployment money or something. It was just a really weird thing where she was like trying to tell people, don't believe what you see in your life. It's going to be fine. She's like, we're going to be fine. Everything's going to be fine. And I think people looking at the overall, I can't believe I'm still talking and I'm totally rambling and I have no idea what I'm talking about at this point. But it's all leading to the other thing. And I didn't think I was going to make any more videos because I'm like, I come on here, I make videos, I complain why I can't put that energy into figuring out my life. And I do try to put that energy into figuring out my life. That's the thing. I beat myself up just as much as any stranger would, and even more. I kick myself and say, why don't you just do this? Why don't you just do that? I don't tell myself, why don't you just get a job? Because I know that's all I ever wanted to do, and I know how impossible it has been. And I don't think it's possible anymore, because I don't even know the way my brain doesn't work anymore. I don't know that I could go somewhere and actually function, because it's been that long. And like I said, my brain has deteriorated in such a way in the last couple years. I don't know how I'm supposed to, even if if you're thinking that I want some kind of free money, let's say that's what you're thinking. Let's say I want the government to suddenly give me free money. Let's say magically, mystically, I got my wish, whatever you think my wish is, and I suddenly was able, the government suddenly gave all the slacker, horrible people in the world $2,000 a month, like I said they should have. Let's pretend, start tomorrow, I got $2,000 a month. I don't know that I would be able to function mentally. I don't know that I wouldn't, that I would know how to handle that money. That I wouldn't just start saying, oh, okay, well, I have money now, so I want a pair of $500 high heels that I'll never wear. Let me buy them. I'm never going to wear high heels. I've only worn sneakers for so long. But there's part of me that my brain just doesn't function right. And it does things that I end up regretting. And this is like $2 at a time. I'm not talking about big money. There's things like, why did I spend that $2? I get on myself for stuff like that. You know, if I'm out and I'm shopping and I say, well, let me go to McDonald's because I've done this. Let me go to McDonald's and get a large soda and a hamburger. Those are on the dollar menu. The soda is $1. The hamburger is like $1 something. All right. And then later on, when I don't have money, I'm like, why did you do that? This is the stuff. Food. Not food I needed, not necessary food, but very cheap food that in the moment I said, okay, let me do this. And then I end up hating myself for it. So now, like I said, I don't know that I can function right, because I question why I did that. I know I'm going to hate myself later. So why do I do? Like people who are drug addicts, they take drugs and then they hate themselves for it. And they don't know why they can't stop. This is not, like, I've gone for most of the pandemic without fast food. If that's what we're thinking, it's not that I can't not eat it. Of course I can. I'm not physically addicted to any of these things. But call it impulse control, call it whatever you want. Impulse control, intuition, I have a hard time telling the difference between the two. But if I didn't follow my intuition for a lot of things, I would have been even more messed up than I am right now. And that's why my logical mind, when it hasn't worked for me, I've been able to rely on my intuition, and still survive somehow. So I've been talking for too long. I've wasted a whole hour of my life, but you know what? I was compelled. Put it that way. There's impulse and then there's being compelled. And I felt compelled because I saw that Omicron thing and I'm like, they're doing it again. They're frightening people again. And the thing that got me is I'm like, there's nowhere to run from this. There's nowhere to go. You can't say, all right, I'm leaving the country. I don't like this shit anymore. I don't like the way this country's being run. Let me go somewhere else. The lockdown, the worldwide lockdowns because of the pandemic made this world one stupid place where you can't go somewhere else to breathe in clean air. You can't go somewhere else to breathe in intelligent air. The same stuff that you hate in your own country that you're like, this is not freedom. You can't go somewhere else. There's nowhere to run. Back in the day, if people didn't want to live in Russia anymore when it was the bad old days, they said, I defect. You can't defect and go anywhere to get away from this hysteria. I have tried to block myself from the hysteria. I have tried to block myself from the fear. But the fear that comes to me is this constant shocking bills and being told, oh no, we're going to help you. Oh no, there's going to be this program, and going back and forth and back and forth. It's going to be okay. Oh no, it's not. It's going to be fine. Don't worry. Here comes another panic thing. Okay, we said this was going to happen, but we were wrong. You don't fit in that program. Oh, you would have fit in that program, but because you borrowed from somebody to pay the bill because it was going to take too long on our end, you're now no longer eligible. All the flim flam and back and forth that I've gone through since this September, after I went into the emergency room saying I can't take it anymore, because my brain was like an alarm going off, and all I could do was cry, all I could do was freak out, and I was like, I can't do this one more day. There was the illusion of help for 5 days. They did nothing. They sent me back, and I can't even tell you what I went through those first couple days being back in the house. But once that initial fear over that particular situation passed, now I was further behind, and I was still trying to get this outside help. I was still trying to find out information, and everything was bullshit. Every time I called, they were telling me one thing, it was something else, until I had to throw up my hands for the 50th time and say, I give up. And now, so many times, I regret giving up. But I know I have some recollection of why I gave up. I have some recollection of why I said, I can't do this. Jesus, take the wheel. You know what I mean? I have to surrender totally, because everything I'm doing is making it worse, or at least it's giving me false hope or false ideas about what the future is going to be, when I can't see a future, and it's making me think it's going to be okay for X amount of days, for X amount of weeks, and then boom, it's not. If it was one person doing this to you, you could say they're gaslighting. This is beyond gaslighting. This is mental torture. The back and forth and constantly thinking, okay, I got to figure it out for now, and I have this much time to come up with something and solve this problem. It's not a lot of time. I don't know what's going to happen, but I have this amount of time. And it's that amount of time that I honestly, truly believe I have. And then suddenly I'm shocked to find out, oh no, you have a week again. It's only a week. You thought you only have a week. And they might just be playing games. And they might just be threatening people to scare them, like I said, with the idea that people have stacks of cash and just aren't paying their bills. I don't know. I've been going through this. I turned the news on because I have been watching videos and doing stuff like that while I'm doing everything else, and just trying to, but I get very nervous when I don't know what's going on in the world. I'm already disconnected. Okay? So already being disconnected from everybody and everything in terms of not relationships, but just relationships like coworkers, people I know their business, I know what's going on in their life, that sort of thing, because I have no information that way. No, I don't gossip anyway, but you understand what I'm saying? I don't know what the deal is with anybody else. And nobody's going to call and tell me. We're not going to talk about things. If I just watch movies or if I just watch YouTube videos, I really feel like I'm doing something wrong if I don't check in with the world. That's why I watch the news and they tell me all this stuff that upsets me, and I get the propaganda and everybody's like, don't do that. But I don't feel right if I don't connect, if I don't plug in everyone, if I don't plug into the matrix every now and again. I don't feel right, because how can you defeat the matrix? How can you, if you don't know what the hell they're doing? How can you survive if you don't know what's going on? When you watch the Matrix, did Neo and them just unplug and then just, play Monopoly and not worry about it? No, every once in a while they plug back in to try to do something. You did not see the Matrix ever again after Neo found out he was a pod or whatever. He didn't just be like, oh, okay, let's go on and have a life. Come on, Trinity, let's go make babies and have fun. You have to plug in. You have to know what's going on. And doing that, I know what they're doing. And I know that they're making everybody afraid again. And the part that really gets me is there's nowhere to run. There's nowhere to go. The hell that I'm in is my own, but it's my own private concentrated hell inside of a larger hell. And this hell they've created is a worldwide hell now. And there's no getting away from it. And when I feel that, I'm like, yeah, there's no hope for me. But there's no hope for a rich version of me. There's no hope for a version of me. Where will you go? If I solved my financial problems and I had money in the bank, I solved all my financial problems and then I had money in the bank. If I managed to do that somehow, there's nowhere for me to go. I don't have credit and stuff like that, so they wouldn't let me anyway. But there's nowhere for me to go to escape this. I want no part of it. This is why I say I don't know why I'm here. I don't fit. I don't want it. There's no future for me. Nobody needs me. I'm just here to keep, not periodically, having another freak out over something, finding a temporary solution, just to end up going through it again earlier than I thought I would. And then, like I said, the outside is this hellscape that's unavoidable. I'm watching other people, the famous people making movies and stuff like that, and I'm like, I was watching again Matrix. There was an interview with Keanu, and everybody's talking about how great it was and all I'm thinking about is, oh, Keanu's vaccinated and he's going into a cafe and he's showing his documents, right? Because they were in Paris for this interview, and I'm just like, it's a world I don't understand, and it's a world I don't want to be a part of. If I was an actor or an actress, you know what I mean? I would be in the Aaron Rodgers, Miles Teller group of people who, everybody hates them for not getting vaccinated. And it's like, they didn't do anything to anybody. You know what I mean? And they are doing what they need. They're staying away. They're not, you know what I mean? If there's places they would like to go where you have to have, one of these vaccine passports, I assume they cannot go. And they're very famous rich people. And, but it's something that I feel like I've gone, my whole life has, when I was a kid, you're supposed to be free to be you and me. You're supposed to be yourself. You're supposed to be your own special snowflake. You're supposed to be able to take care of yourself. This is America. There's supposed to be opportunity and all that stuff. It wasn't supposed to be about how you look and all that. Everything I was taught in the 70s and 80s about what was important and how to be a good person. All that information backfired on me, and because I believed it. And all that mattered was playing the game. All that mattered was fitting in. All the people who bowed to peer pressure are the ones who won. All the people who did what they were told. You know that experiment they show you where they have the man and he's the he works in, he's like a foreman in a factory or something, or he's not a foreman, but he's a factory worker all his life, and they tell him they got to give electric shocks to the person on the other side, and the person who is the just the worker, he keeps shocking somebody even after he thinks he might have killed this person with the shocks. He keeps doing it because he's being told to. And the person who is in charge of people and who has is a manager and who has responsibility to his workers, he protests and says, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to hurt people. All right. The point of that experiment was to show people that you're supposed to stand up for you, you're supposed to do the right thing. You know what I mean? But people get programmed into being a certain way. And, so I learned that. I don't know if I saw that in high school or in college, but I saw that many years ago. I think they redid the thing. And there was like, I remember seeing like a new version, and there was like one black girl who did not have a position of power. She's like, I'm not doing that. You know what I mean? But it was the point is you were supposed to stand up. You're supposed to do the right thing. You're not supposed to follow the herd. You're not supposed to bow to peer pressure. All that stuff. You're supposed to be a strong person on the inside. And everything that I taught, putting one foot in front of the other, and being honest and being myself every day led me to here. And throughout the pandemic, and seeing how everything went, and seeing how different it was for rich and poor, and the people who were rich and how they got there, and they're not brainiacs and they're not good people. They're just, some of them were just really good looking. So they became a superhero in a movie. You can't even understand what they're saying, but they're really good looking. Or they were a model before. Or, they're somebody's child. And they're a third generation Hollywood person, and they have money and their life's going to be great. Pandemic or not. And they're going to get the vaccines. They don't care. They're going to do what they're told. Somebody says, go over there, stand over there, and do this, and we'll give you money. And they say, okay, here, come help us bury your body because you work with us, and if you don't, we're going to get rid of you. They're okay. You know what I mean? These are the people who are supposed to be the bad guys, the people who went along with the bad thing. When I was growing up, or everything I believed, and I still believe, they're the people who, what is it? Evil thrives when good people do nothing. This is what I was taught. All these things I was taught led me to be this person on the bottom who has nothing. And the people who sold out their fellow man, the people who were drug dealers, the people who did horrible things just to get the money. Now that they have the money, it's like they're the good guys. And all that mattered was doing whatever you can. If you let people treat you like shit to have a job, and then all the other people heard, hey, you can treat that guy like shit, and he'll be fine with it. And then you get a better job because now you're moving up in the world because you let everybody treat you like shit until one day now you're on top. That may be great and that may be wonderful, and it may be a tale of endurance and perseverance for some people, but I'm like, my thinking was, well, if you let people treat you like shit, then you're part of the problem because you're telling people you're part of why everything sucks. But it's flipped on its head, and I believe now the thinking is that yes, you are supposed to take shit for money. You're supposed to let people treat you bad. You're supposed to do whatever you have to for money. Because then if you don't have money, you're a bad person and you deserve it, because survival of the fittest. And if survival of the fittest meant taking shit, having transactional sex, doing things you knew were wrong, looking the other way in order to get a promotion. All these things have now been the right moves to make in a career, and the people who made all those moves are on top now. And that's what I've been seeing as I've had the time, and being locked down and stuff like that. It's clear to me that people I used to like, actors and actresses, or any of these people, they are actors, and a lot of actors are just puppets. And somebody tells you, go over there and do this, that's what you're supposed to do for their job. And they tell you, go over there and say those words, that's what they're supposed to do for their job. So they started doing it politics-wise before this lockdown. They go and they say what they're told to say. And now it's to the point where you see these people weren't just actors and saying lines. They'll do whatever they have to. Or if somebody tells them to do it, they'll do it. They won't sit there and think, is this right or is this wrong? They won't make a moral decision. They'll say, well, or maybe they'll say, okay, well, they told me to take this medication and to sell this medication to other people. Like say an actor, you see a commercial and an actor is selling a prescription drug. I don't think that's right either, because you're not a doctor. You know what I mean? So all these people who sold out, to me, selling out was the worst thing. I remember when I was in high school, I don't know if it was Neil Young, it was somebody. I don't think they did the commercial. I think they were picking on somebody else for doing commercials. The idea was, if there was a famous person who sold out and did a beer commercial or something, this was like the worst thing that could have ever happened. This is in the 80s. This is how people viewed things. This is the way I grew up. I was an adult by the time this changed. The attitude was, you didn't sell out, you didn't commit crimes, you didn't commit sins for money. But what I feel like I've been taught in the last 2 years is that I'm wrong and I'm a bad person. I'm not survival of the fittest material, which is how the world runs now. And you were supposed to do whatever you had to, sell out whoever you had to, steal, lie, cheat, and steal to get money. And now having money means you're a winner, and that made you a good person. And all the people who didn't do that are bad and evil and on the bottom, and they deserve what they get. And if they want help or they need help, they're lazy. It's just, this is what I've been being taught over the last 2 years. That everything I ever believed, everything I ever did was wrong. And that's why I feel like, well, I'm only going to continue to be wrong. I can't sell out now. I can't possibly. There's no way to. Even if I wanted to, and I don't want to. That's why I'm saying I don't fit. And I'm asking the universe, why are you keeping me here to go through this shit over and over? I'm asking God. I sit here, I pray, okay? I say the universe because I want people to understand I'm not just this person who grew up Catholic and thinks I've read everything, I've thought everything, I do all the New Age stuff, I believe in all this stuff. But what I don't understand is why, forget the outside world, why in my situation, why I'm still here to suffer more and keep going through these traumatic mental events every time I think I know what's going on, and boom, I don't. Okay? That's what I don't understand. And I try to make sense of it, and I try to learn, and I try to get all the information so I'll be prepared next time and I'll be able to figure it out. And it's like, boom, you're wrong again. You thought you had the information, you're wrong. And what we're going to do this time is we're going to make you sit there for a weekend in a fucking stupor, in a panic. And then maybe we'll tell you with 4 days to figure it out. I am no more able to handle my situation than I was last week. I am no more able to handle my situation than I was back in September when I started begging for mental help. Mental, because maybe it's a cognitive problem. Okay. I do believe, I know that I'm weaker than I was years ago, mentally, in terms of cognition. Okay. Cognitive test. I have been begging for a cognitive test. They won't put me on. I called, I kept asking this therapist. She was supposed to put me on a wait list. Or she told me, oh, she's trying to get me an appointment. She can't. Then when I complained so much to her about it, she gave me 2 phone numbers to call. I called the one. The lady kept saying, well, we'd have to put you on a wait list. I was like, okay. And then she goes, well, we'd have to put you on a wait list. I'm like, okay. Well, it would have to be a wait list then. And I'm like, she's just going to keep saying that. And she's not putting me on this wait list because it's supposed to be 6 months. I've already been wanting this kind of test I've been asking people in a position to do this for 3 months. I'm not on a wait list. I called the other place. This other number that the therapist gave me, because she was doing it herself, but I guess she felt like I wasn't trusting her or whatever. So I called this other place. I started to tell him, oh, okay, well, there's a wait list. I was like, okay, well, can I go on it then? He's like, okay. Then he asked me my birthday. He asked me my birthday, and somehow I got disconnected. And I'm saying to myself, are you kidding? Because I don't know if you have Mass Health or Medicare or anything. What you find out if you're paying attention, and this goes for any insurance really, but the better insurance, obviously, they're going to take care of more stuff. What the treatments you get, the tests you get. If you think there's something wrong with you, if you have a strong feeling there's something wrong with you, let's say you're 35 and you really have problems with your bum and you're like, I really feel like I need a colonoscopy, and you're getting strong intuition that there's something wrong, you have problems going poopies or something, and you tell them that, they're not going to give you that test because they're going to convince you of why you don't need it. Not because doctors don't think you need it, because the doctors know what insurance you're on, and they know that they're not going to pay for a seemingly healthy person to get a test if they're not in the age bracket. Meanwhile, you come back a few years later, or your neighbor who is in the right age doesn't want to get the test, and they're trying to force the test on them because now you're in the age bracket that your insurance will pay for it, and they're like, okay, you need to get this test. Well, I don't have any kind of symptoms. I'm super healthy, and I don't want to get that test. Yeah, but people this age are supposed to get this test. You're supposed to be screened for this at this age. So I'm going to keep yelling at you and making you feel guilty and trying to scare you to get this test. Meanwhile, your neighbor from across the street who has all kinds of problems and wants this test, I'm going to tell him he doesn't need it, even though he probably does, because his insurance isn't going to pay for it. And so because I've been through so much bullshit with doctors, and I sit there and I listen, and this is what else is wrong with me. I'm trying to let go and let God, but I can't surrender to stupidity. I sit there and I listen to somebody, and when the words they say don't make sense, I'm like, excuse me, that doesn't make sense. And I don't go, oh, okay, and just go along with it because I don't want to hear it. I try, and whenever I do that, something horrible happens because I know better. So when people are telling me bullshit, I will be like, no, that's not right. I've been through this enough with enough doctors. That's why I don't go to the doctor, because I'm not going to sit there and have arguments. Okay? Everything I try to do, I try to go to the doctor. I told you, I try to go to the doctor because all my bones hurt. I think I was starting to get arthritis before all this happened. I think being in the house and not running around all day like I used to, jumping on a bus, going here, going there, doing all this stuff, walking all the time. It's different when you don't have to. You know, you can go for a walk. It's not the same thing as walking, accumulating for hours because you're taking the bus instead of driving. I used to get more exercise that way, even though I was still fat. Didn't matter. But sitting in lockdown, being in the house and not going around, I feel like whatever arthritis, or if I was starting to get arthritis or whatever, because I have good cause to have osteoporosis, because I took Lupron to try to avoid having a hysterectomy. Years I was given Lupron shots, and take it. I was given Lupron shots to try to avoid having a hysterectomy. It didn't work, but those shots, the side effect, number one side effect is bone loss. Okay, so I have good reason to think there may be something wrong with my bones, even though I'm only 47. I did get a bone scan. I went it's about a month and a half, 2 months ago now. And I called and asked them, hey, what were the results of that? They never got back to me. I called and asked last Monday. Oh, well, the doctor's only here on Wednesday. Well, and they acted like they hadn't received the results of this bone scan that I did like a month and a half ago. It wasn't somewhere else. They sent me to that place to get the bone scan. I'm not going around picking some random McDonald's to try to get a bone scan and try to get my test results from McDonald's. They put me in the fryer later. But that's not a bone scan? No, I went to where they told me to go to get a bone scan. I have no idea. This is what I'm saying. I've done everything I can. I have to wait and wait and wait and wait and wait to find out there is or isn't anything wrong with me. I have to wait and wait and wait and wait to get mental health help if I need it. I'm telling the therapist last week, she canceled twice on me, so I hadn't gone for a couple weeks since this other stuff was happening. I was freaking out about that. I'm like, look, when I came to you, I came because I was mentally stuck. And if I can't get this cognitive test, I need to just do whatever I can to try to work on my mind or get the kind of figure out what is wrong with, what could be wrong with me that's not a true cognitive issue, and do that in order to, and she's just sitting there listening to me like, oh yeah. And it's like, I'm not here, I don't come here to vent. Yeah, I've been going through a lot, so I end up venting. But that's not, I'm not coming here to vent. I was coming here because I want to fix myself. I want to fix my situation. I feel like I'm having some kind of mental issue, which I felt like is more cognitive, but it doesn't mean I don't have all the other nervous stuff that's going along with the lockdowns and everything else. But I needed help to figure out what I can do next, because my brain doesn't naturally plan anymore. And that's why I reached out for help. I have all these other issues, I understand that, but the thing I needed to do was solve this problem so I don't have to keep going through this. I don't have to keep being in danger. I don't have to keep, you know what I mean? My brain stopped trying to work it out a year ago. I thought it was a temporary thing. I thought I would get over it. When I realized at my own detriment I wasn't doing anything and I wasn't planning, that's when I started to look for a therapist. I kept calling people who weren't taking new patients. I was doing it casually. Then shit happened at the beginning of September that made me go to the emergency room. And at that point I had to do something, and I had to do it now. And that's 3 months ago. And I'm here on a weekend and I'm talking to you because I'm still nervous. I'm still nervous about what I was nervous on Friday. I do this. Friday I was doing it and I said, I think what it ended up being is this ended up being my therapy in a way. This ended up being me being able to get things out. I wanted to say my piece. I wanted in the beginning. I was tired of hearing that all the, Trumpers or whatever were evil people. And I was like, look, here's my case. Here's who I am. I'm not the things they say. Here's why I believe the things I do. I originally, when I made the channel, I was going to do reactions, but I'm not good at it. It does not work out. So when I first started, it ended up that I was talking about the news. So I talk about current events. I do this in a blog type fashion. So if I see a movie and I want to review it, then I do that. To try to keep myself a normal person, to try to still have one foot in with regular people. I've tried to catch up on the movies I missed, like old. I did a review of that. I watched it. I had it on the TV. I watched it that way, so it was more of a reaction type thing. I have the worst time editing things. I don't have any concentration anymore either. But it's hard for me to do something monotonous. It's hard for me to do anything. And it's weeks ago now that I watched that. It would look the same as the one I did for In the Heights. But that took me 2 weeks too. The Bill and Ted one, which is also a mess, took me 2 weeks. That was me trying to keep my mind, to raise my vibration by keeping my mind off of the immediate garbage that I can't do anything about. That's making me insane, and to try to heal my mind by doing what I can for myself as like a salve, as like a brain salve to keep being who I was, who was a big fan of movies, who watched this entertainment stuff and liked it and loved it. and to try to continue to keep one foot in that world of the fan who anticipates a movie, oh, the Matrix is coming up. I can't go to them, so I did trailer reactions. That was me. But, you know, this sometimes when I'm explaining why I'm a mess, it's like a confessional. I feel like I have to explain why I'm a horrible person who doesn't have anything, why I complain about money and stuff like that. I know from being alive that every day I got up and I told the truth, and up until lockdown, I almost never stayed home a whole day. Like, I went out and put myself in the world every day. Whether I was actively looking for a job, going to public meetings, just trying to still be a human being, even though I didn't have anything. I was not lazy. I showed up as much as I could in life. It did not pan out. To this day, I don't know why. And that's the part that hurts, because I don't have a proper explanation to give anybody. I don't have one for myself. When I think about it, I still don't know. And sitting here thinking about it does nothing but waste time. But so often, when I try to think of what can I do in the future, I used to be able to come up with some things. What has really happened now is all I think about is in the past. Well, my brain immediately shifts to, well, all the horrible stuff that got me here. My brain can't think forward. I can only think back. And the only other thing to do is not think about it. Watching movies, watching the news. And then the news triggers me to say, I hate saying triggered, but the news motivates me to make a video where I call them out on the truth that I see. And for me, that's all I've ever had to give the world, is the truth, because a lot of other people don't want to say it. They don't want to say what's really happening. They don't watch the news, so they don't know, because they're missing a whole. And I'm not saying the news is the truth. I'm saying they're not hearing what's happening, and they don't know the truth of the situation we're all in. The truth that I'm talking about with this new variant is now the old variant, and there's going to be another push to frighten people or force people to stay home again. I don't know what they're using it for, but you know what I mean? It sounds, there's a song and I can't think of the title. I'm dancing around the title. Like, the new thing is the old thing, and it's just, the point is, it's like, new Coke and old Coke and clear Pepsi, and you know what I mean? It's all the same old thing. It's repackaged for you. This new variant is going to be marketed fear for you, just the way they package the old one. It's the new and improved fear mongering. And I think most people are tired. I think most people know. But the fact that we can't do shit about it, even the people who have money, you know, that's what gets me. Unless you're going to play along, unless you're going to go along with the whole system, unless you're going to get whatever vaccine they want to give you. They want to give you a vaccine so you won't turn into a duck. If you go, fine, give it to me, as long as I still get to do my job. If you're that person you are of this world, and I am happy for you and I'm proud of you, and I wish I was you most of the time. I don't know why I'm not. So when they come and they say, okay, if you don't get this vaccine, you're going to be a duck, and then we won't let ducks work at our organization. So you have to get this vaccine, and you say, fine, give me the vaccine. I just want to keep my job. If you're that person, you're lucky. I don't think we choose our personalities. I don't think we choose who we are. If you really understood what I think every single thing is fated. That's why I don't understand why I've been marked down to have so much bullshit come around again over and over again, and not allow me the situation to break the wheel, to allow me to get off the hamster wheel, which I never wanted to be on. Just allow me to stop this from coming back around again. I do not feel in power at all. I do feel like something larger is in control of everything. And that's why it's so hard for me, because it's like, if that's the case, then if there's no free will, which I just don't know. But for me, the proof I have from life is that nobody really decides what they do. Nobody decides what their favorite ice cream is. Nobody decides if they're gay or straight. Nobody decides any of the stuff that's happening. All the people who are ruining everything, maybe they don't decide it either. And in that case, what am I talking about? I'm talking about evil. I'm talking about evil. And I don't know if people have a choice. Like, does this guy who's on my TV talking right now with the little glasses, the doctor man, does he have a choice in being a total tool? Does he have a choice? I don't know. I want to feel like I have a choice. White House monitors Omicron variant. Am I saying it right? Omicron? That's what I'm reading at the bottom of the thing. I just don't, and this is what I'm saying. This is where she made me start this, because she says, well, the question is, does the vaccine, this is what she's saying. She's questioning whether the vaccine works. This is the same thing they said about Delta. And this is what I'm saying. It's the same thing over again. You know? I should watch 1984 again. It's on Tubi. I honestly need a refresher. That's what I mean about my mind. I just went through all that rant about 1984 earlier this year. But I need refreshers all the time now. I need to be reminded all the time now. I know I'm having a bit of a memory issue. I don't know if it's natural for my age. I do think it was compounded by the things they did to me, whatever drugs they gave me and stuff like that when I almost died that time, when they put you into a coma. There was a story on NPR how people who were in a coma, they give you certain drugs when they put you in a medically induced coma, and sometimes the people in the coma come out and they have some kind of dementia. You know, it's not really bad, or some forgetfulness. They have some memory issues, and this is why I'm not just blowing smoke. This is the wrong time to be alone in the world and try to figure out an impossible situation with no money when your brain doesn't work anymore for whatever reason, because it doesn't feel like it does. I could talk about shit. Look at any of my old videos. Watch me try to remember an actor's name. I know that happens when you get older, so that makes it look like, well, maybe that's normal. But I do it too much, and that's been before all these other traumas I've been through. That was happening already. I did this confessional. I needed to do it because I feel guilty for being alive, and every moment I'm not doing something, I feel wrong. And I felt that way actually my whole life. I've always felt like I had to show up. I had perfect attendance in high school. Okay? I was that kind of a dweeb or nerd or geek or whatever you want to call me. I didn't want to get in any trouble at all. That's why I'm not good at recovering from trouble, because I went out of my way to not get in trouble in the first place. Maybe I knew that I was a person who could not recover, who could not fix things. I don't fix things. Once things are broke, they stay broke. Once I get fat, I stay fat. Once I have a medical issue, it goes all the way. Anything I recovered from, I didn't have in the first place. I don't recover. I don't repair. What's damaged stays damaged. And I don't want to think that way. It's just, historically speaking, and if I look at my own personal history, once something goes wrong, no amount of effort I put in fixes it. And I've tried not to think that way, and I've watched so many YouTube videos of trying, like I said, raise my vibration. I try to do everything I can. That's why I went crazy since the summer on the phone trying to get help and trying to get information, because I try to trace down everything. I have gone down every path, and I've taken every avenue I can. I've called and called and recalled and called in a circle to where you start off calling the United Ways 211. And you end up, by the end, you call 10 people and they tell you to call this other one, tell you to call this other one. The last one tells you to call the United Way, where you started. And I've done all this, and I've been doing this for months, and I've been trying to understand what I can do. And it's the false idea, this false hope that I keep being given, this false idea that I'm going to get help, this false idea that I'm going to make it, that keeps messing with me. It keeps me hanging on by a thread. Why would a human being who has no reason to be alive but keeps going through more and more shit, what is the cosmic reason? What is the philosophical reason? And if anybody can tell me this, please do. What is the philosophical reason a person who has nothing, who sees no future, who has no dreams or hopes or goals or desires, why would a person be kept on this earth to just keep squeaking by at the last minute just to suffer again, just to go through it all over again in a few weeks' time, get more brain damage from freaking out and crying for hours and not knowing what to do, calling people or texting people who won't come back to you when you just need to talk because you owe the money that they let you borrow that you didn't want to borrow, but you couldn't say no when they offered it because you needed it. And now when you just need somebody to talk to because you're freaking out because you're going to sit for a weekend not knowing what's going on in your own life, there's nobody there. Why am I being kept alive when all these other people in the world who have everything are dying? Like I said, they're kids, they have a whole life ahead of them, they have parents who love them, they just went to a concert. Somebody else, I don't know, there's too many people who have a great life, who keep being taken, who have family and everybody who wants them and needs them around, and I keep surviving. All I ever wanted, my whole life, when I think about dying, some people are like, you know how Tyrion Lannister wanted to die. People think, how do you want to die? I just wanted to die. I wanted to be walking down the street or just be around doing whatever and just have a massive heart attack and die. I didn't want to suffer. I didn't want to have, all my grandchildren gathered around my deathbed. And no, I never wanted. I just was like, if I go to die, I just want to die without knowing I'm sick, without running all over town after. So I'm just saying to myself, I've told the universe, I've communicated this many times, I don't need to be here anymore. I don't fit in this world anyway. There's no future for me. I'm just here to suffer. Trade me out for a little kid who is sick. And, trade me out, and it doesn't happen. And all these people who have good lives and people who want them there, they get taken so that those people can suffer. Their family and everybody can suffer and go, why? Just like I'm over here, why? And it's not fair, but this is now telling me it's not getting enough video. I don't even know. I've been going for so long. So I'm going to say goodbye now. I had to get this out. I had to confess it again. I'm still going through it, and every few days I go through it again. I don't want to do this. I don't want to be this. I don't see a path forward for me. I don't think my brain works anymore. Every time I look at the Indeed sent me a thing last night that I should be a delivery driver. I contacted Indeed like 3 years ago when I was looking for a job. And I was like, is there any way I can do some kind of filter that doesn't give me a job that requires a license or requires driving? Because it's kind of making me want to kill myself. Because every time I turn around, the jobs say you must have a license, I just don't. Don't have a car. I don't have the money to drive. I don't even have the money to go get a license or take driving lessons, okay? I tried when I was in high school. I failed, okay? But after that, I lived in Manhattan for 8 years, and I didn't need to drive. And then when I came home, I said, the first thing I do when I get a job is I'm going to get a car. I'm going to get a license, and I'm going to get a car. And I told you, I didn't get a job. Okay? So when I go and I look, and everything is drive, driver's license, You must be able to lift 40 pounds over your head. You must be able to stand up all day. Or stand up for large amounts of time. I can't. That's not something I can do. When I stand at the bus stop and I wait for more than 15 minutes, my leg goes numb. Okay, I can't stand in one. I can walk for a long time. And it'll hurt after I get home because I feel like I have arthritis. But I can walk for a long time. As long as I can sit and rest every now and again, I can walk for hours before I just feel like I'm going to kaput. I cannot stand in one place. So I can't stand behind a cash register. Not that they'd hire me anyway. And I can't drive. If I had a job, I would be healthier. Maybe I would try my best to find a different way to lose weight instead of all the ways it didn't work before. If I had a job, I would have saved up money and got a car. Nobody understands, and I don't expect you to. Like I said, I have to do this because I'm compelled to explain myself, explain where I'm at in this moment, explain everything I'm going through. I don't think I'm the only person who's going through it, but it really feels like it. It really feels like it now. When Trump was in office, it didn't feel like it. The news was telling me how bad everybody's life was all the time. So I felt like, well, at least it's just me. Now, since the new president and since the vaccines became available to everybody and they started opening everything back up, as far as the TV's concerned, everything's great. Nobody's having a hard time. It's just you. Every day, they might as well just freaking Savannah and Hoda and them should just get up, come on the TV and just say, it's just you. You're the only one going through this and it's your own damn fault. That's what they should just say every freaking day. And the reason you fuck up is because you're an idiot. It's not because people are misleading you. It's not because they're telling you the wrong information. It's not because they're giving you false hope. It's because you're stupid. And you're worthless. And if you can't think anymore, it's your own fucking fault. If your brain doesn't work, it's your fault. And the reason when you ask for help, you don't get help is because you don't deserve it. Everybody else deserves help, not you. They should just come on every morning at 7 o'clock and say that to me. So I'll be clear on it one more time. Again, this is a descent into madness. This is deterioration. This is whatever the hell you want to call it. This is who I am today, 2 days after I was on here, crying with no microphone on. And then saying whatever I said after that, I don't even know. It's literally like I have to exhaust my mouth. It's literally like I have to exhaust my mouth and just get it all out. Nobody actually wants to hear it. Nobody who gets paid to hear it. And nobody who's supposed to be a friend. I used to listen to people, so I used to listen to people for hours. But, you know, I don't deserve that. Why? Fucking no. I don't know. People want to help, but they can't. And they tell you they'll help, and they're not bad people. They just don't know themselves. They don't know that if they loan you money, they're going to resent you. And they insist that they want to help, and it's fine. And I knew. That's why I never asked. That's why I don't ask for help, because when people help you, they resent you, or they feel like you are going to have to now pay them back by helping them bury a body. And I didn't ever want to be beholden to somebody who was going to have me want me to help them commit a crime or do something wrong. My brain doesn't work anymore. I made a cup of tea 2 hours ago and I didn't drink it. I'm already feeling dehydrated. I was sick yesterday. I got stomach sick. Just because you know what it was? I had cocoa. I used to drink cocoa all the time. In the last few years, I feel like when I have a cup of cocoa, that it makes me dehydrated. So it's not a drink. It's not a beverage. It's like a sponge that goes into your stomach. And if you don't drink enough drinks around the cocoa, then you're in trouble. And I think I got in trouble because I had a cocoa. And I didn't want to drink. I didn't remember. I wasn't alert enough to make sure I drank enough. I was going to walk to Walgreens to get something to drink. It's still around freezing. The temperature is around freezing. I don't think there's a wind chill today. Yesterday was a wind. It's been feeling like January, February. Like I said, on top of everything else, the weather has really made things very difficult for a person in my position. Person without a car. Person who is affected by the weather. In the summer, I don't sweat, so I don't cool off. I never have. I just don't like that, so I overheat. And in the winter, all the fat on me ends up feeling like ice packs. You know, those things you put in the fridge and you freeze them instead of ice. And I feel like my fat is made out of that stuff. Because if I go outside and get cold, it takes me hours and hours to warm up again. Because I feel like the fat is just ice packs sitting on me, keeping me cold. I don't belong in this earth. I've been saying that for years. But what I'm going through now, there's no place for me, and I have no hope, and I have no path forward. I don't see it, and the shit keeps happening that I don't understand. I think I have a handle on it. I don't have money, and I don't know why. It's like I'm allergic to that stuff. I've said it before. But I don't know why. I keep thinking I got it figured out. Okay, I have a month. No, you don't. You have a week. Hurry up. If at any point in time in this whole thing, I knew for sure that, okay, in 2 months' time, that's going to be it. You're not going to be able to do this anymore. Then I would have, as much as I don't want to, as much as it might kill me, as much as I don't know where I would go, I would say, okay, it's time for me I have to try to sell this house. What I'm afraid of, it's so beaten up and broken down. I'm kind of afraid, not just of not being able to sell it, not just of it'll go for so little money that once the other bills come that I haven't been paying for 2 years now, once they come, that I'll have zero and no place to live. Not just that, but also that if I said, okay, come look at the house, yucky houses, people, that it would be in such bad shape that they would say, oh no, this house needs to be condemned. There's too many things wrong with it. I mean, I can live in it. There's a roof over my head. The heat works so far. You know, but there's a lot of things wrong. There are so many reasons why. There's so many fearful reasons, if you want to call them that, why. If I had a safety net, if I had somewhere to go, if I saw a path forward, if I knew for sure I'd have X amount of dollars after everything else is settled to start anew somewhere with, then I would do that. But the fact that I got held back for so long made me start saying, maybe there's a reason why I keep being held back. Maybe I'm supposed to stay here. And that's when all this other stuff happened and I kind of just lost my way. So this is why I don't take action. Because A, I could make everything way worse, which is horrible, but I could somehow make it way worse. It's not regular being afraid. It's not, oh, I like it here and I don't know about moving somewhere else. It's not that. It's not that. There are many complicated reasons why. Why I don't take action. It's not just fear. It's constructive fear. Like, it's not constructive because there's good reasons why I'm fearful. Put it that way. There's good reasons why I think I shouldn't. It's not what. It's good reasons why I think I shouldn't. Though I shouldn't rock the boat. Well, I should hang on for as long as possible, and that's what I've been doing. All indications are I should hang on as long as possible, but every time I turn around, it's like, it's not possible, you should have done it already. And then it's like, no, it's going to be all right. You should have done it already. Oh, no, it's going to be all right, you can hang on. You should have done it already. Oh, no, it's fine, you can hang on. The day my mother died, I didn't know what was going to happen to me. And it's sad because I should have had time to be sad that my mom died. But it's just been confusion and anger and a lot of other stuff. The other day I was freaking out because I thought I hadn't saved. When I had to get an Obama phone, the phone I had, the one that my mom had texted me last on, it went out of service, and I forgot to transfer the texts to my Obama phone if I could. And I got really upset and I thought I lost them, and that's what I was freaking out about in the middle of the night. Instead of in the middle of the night before I got this letter that sent me in this tailspin. I was already really upset, and I was already sad and crying, and I was already not understanding why I would make a mistake like that, why I would have a brain fart like that on something so important. Why didn't I do it? And I thought I had filmed it. I thought I had taken my camera and went like this with all the texts from her, and I couldn't find it. I couldn't find it in the computer, and I was losing it. And I couldn't find it. I was losing it for like an hour, and then I went back and I did find it. But it just sent me on that whole philosophical thing of why am I like this? Why is this my life? And these are the brain farts. These are the things that if I don't do them when I have the opportunity, I lose the opportunity. And that's what forces me to try to do everything and knock myself out. And then most things I don't end up accomplishing things anyway. But I always have that feeling if I don't do things at the first opportunity, I'm not going to get a second one. I'm not, you know what I mean? I have to do it now or else. And that's why I'm always burnt out. I'm always knocking myself out. And when I look back at my life, I just put in so much effort and had no result. And I just look at all the times where I just was really forcing myself to do things. And this is why I try to let go and let God. And then this shit comes in the mail. And it's like, but I thought I had time. And then I hate myself for surrendering. And then I try to do things and nothing works. To the point where I feel like I gotta surrender again. Or whatever happens was gonna happen whether I put in all that effort or not. Any help I got in the last few months would have happened if I never picked up the phone. And I was on the phone and I was going crazy and I was driving myself nuts trying to chase things down. But to this point, the help that I've gotten, I would have got anyway had I not lifted a finger. It's help I got last year. That the thing would have come in the mail. I would have signed it. End of story. I would have got that help anyway. All the shit that I've been going through for the last 3 months, I'm still waiting to see if I'm going to get that help. That's the problem. That promise of that help is making me crazy. It's making me crazy. It's taking my whole mind. And I don't have much mind left. I don't understand the world. I had philosophical ideas. I have ideas about how things work. I don't understand this world, and I feel like this world is very different than the world. Maybe, like I said, maybe the world did end in 2012, as they say. If you want to look that up, go look it up. Because it does work totally differently than it did before. There is a chaos to it. There is something it doesn't make any kind of sense to me. Maybe people who grew up maybe people who are kids up until 2012 and now maybe it makes sense to them. It doesn't make sense to me. I cannot make sense out of this world. So how am I supposed to function in it? And I can't function. But I'm still here. Always dangling off the edge. That's what I am. I'm always dangling off the edge. You can't live always dangling off the edge. But I do. I don't know. You shut up. I don't know why I haven't shut up yet. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do these videos. I don't want to do these live streams. I just have to for some reason. I've just wasted 2 hours. All I hate myself is for wasting time, wasting energy on things that don't do anything for me. But I don't know how to link up with the things that would do for me. I don't know.